Hey, everybody, this is your good friend, Dr. David Proden from down here in the North Star Recording Studio in Wisconsin. It has been in the mid 80s and humid the last few days, much different than just earlier in the month when we actually had snowfall overnight. Just pretty crazy stuff. So, hey, I've got a couple monitors set up here. So I'm going to tell you what is happening in front of me for those of you who are watching the show live right now on YouTube. So I have my main monitor in front with our guest, Juan Cabrera. On the left are my show notes. On the right, just a search engine that's open up. So as you see me kind of looking around here, that's what's going on down here in the studio. So thank you so much. A few things right away. This show is produced in video. It also is released in audio on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, other places, of course. And then I do a blog post, which is about 600 words or about a page and a half, where I summarize what the discussion is for this show. And you can find all of that at safetyphd.com. So if you can subscribe to the show, hey, I would appreciate it. And of course, a big thumbs up right there from the Safety Doc to you. I would appreciate that also. I have the book, School of Errors, Rethinking School Safety in America. Yes, it is in hard copy. You can also get it in Kindle. It's also in libraries. School of Errors, Rethinking School Safety in America. But it's a book about navigating chaos, how to handle chaotic situations, how to identify that you're in chaos. It's good stuff. The first chapter, how thinking about a bagel can get you through the worst day of your life. School of Errors, Rethinking School Safety in America. Amazon, Barnes & Noble. For some reason, hey, it had a spike this week on Amazon. So somebody's been sharing the good word. Also, hey, rooftop life rafts. So, rooftop life rafts, they're out, southern part of the country, exposed to a lot of hurricanes, a lot of flooding. Check out rooftop life rafts. I've been doing some work with them on talking about the psychology of cognitive offloading. They develop products for people who are facing, flooding situations, rafts that deploy from homes, other safety gear, rooftop life rafts. Can't say enough about those good folks. And right behind me, it's kind of blocked out a little bit here, but it is the 405 Media out of Los Angeles, California. The 405 Media. This show is syndicated on the405media.com. You'll also find other podcasters there, including our good friend Aaron Clary from the Clary Podcast. Now, if I'm doing this right, we're going to have our little 51-second show promo. That's our trailer that's going to start. Now, I'm doing this a little different, folks. So here we go. I believe this will actually work, though. Let's give it a check. Now, I'm doing this a little different, folks. So, dun, 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 dun. I believe this will actually work. All right, here we go. And I am going to do share screen. Share screen is easier. All right. Yeah. I got it. Share screen. All right, here we go. Yeah. I got it. All right, here we go. Was sticking my toes in the sand while I watched the waves. Glad I don't crashing. All right, here we go. Sounds like an echo. All right, that didn't work. But anyway, you can see it. Sparkradio.net, a rooftop life raft systems over here on the video looking at, and then dun, 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 dun. Hey, my book, School of Errors, Rethinking School Safety. RJ Jones did that graphic of me. The book was rated Best New School Safety Books by Book Authority. Yes. And of course, Juan Cabrera. We're going to be talking about San Francisco's homeless today on the show. But Juan is back. I'm going to get out of this. I've got to figure out how to navigate the echo. Oh, my goodness. So here we go. All right. Juan Cabrera is a Mexican immigrant who grew up in San Francisco. He observed San Francisco's transformation into a deranged City due to malfunctioning local and state level policies. I'm going to get into a few of those in just a moment. Juan is pursuing a degree in petroleum engineering. He has a passion for videography to document and bring awareness to the condition of homelessness in California. His Instagram channel has kind of exploded, taken off. You can read more during that full blog post that I'll put together at safetyphd.com. Give you more information about Juan. A little background as we get into this. Per official reports, which are probably low, there are 151,000 homeless people in California. That's the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. It's actually the highest number since 2007. Okay, but for San Francisco, I found multiple statistics. I found 8,000 people, and I found as many as 17,000 people homeless per how the statistics are calculated. So we do know it's a significant problem in not only California, but across the country. But California, mostly, we think of also the weather. We don't have the conditions that we have where I'm at in Wisconsin, severe cold in winter. But so I was looking at some of the laws, trying to learn more about, regulations regarding how people who are homeless are treated in different states. In California, it's the most, has the most laws of any state regarding homeless people. And the laws actually don't do much to advance the homeless people into a condition of not being homeless. There's actually, there were laws they call sit and lie laws. So you can't sit and lie on a sidewalk, but then cities would find a way around that. They would put boulders on sidewalks. That's been kind of a trendy thing in the last year or two, putting boulders to prevent homeless people from sleeping, camping there. But of course, they're not ineffective, right? They're not effective. They don't address the bigger issues, the bigger problems of how to make things better for people who are homeless. But so today we're going to get into face validity, and face validity, when we've talked about it on the show, is talking with people who can say, I observe this. David, I observe this. This is what's happening, versus, you turn on the news or whatever, you're getting this news perspective, which is filtered, watered down bias. You talk to people who are authentic and they can say, I observed. And today, our guest, Juan Cabrera. Juan, welcome to the Safety Doc podcast.
Thank you for having me on, Doc. It's an honor to be here.
Well, I appreciate that, and likewise. So tell us a little more about yourself.
So, it's like we were talking before you went live. I grew up in San Francisco. I'm sorry, I'm kind of nervous. You went live.
Oh God, yeah, don't be nervous. No, we're all good to go here.
Yeah, I guess I'm a mechanic, right? I work on cars. I started working on cars when I was like 14 years old, and I'm a father.
So yeah, how old are your kids?
My oldest is 10, and then my youngest is 6, and the middle one is 8.
Okay. Wow. So how long have you lived in California?
Pretty much my whole life. I was born in Mexico, but I don't have any memories of Mexico, so I pretty much grew up in San Francisco. This is like my home city where I've pretty much never lived outside of San Francisco.
Okay. Wow. So Juan, we were talking before the show started. So you had a tradition with your brother, something that you do on Christmas. And can you tell us about that? Because that's kind of a lead in to the next part, which is talking about your experiences of interviewing, talking with people who are homeless, learning their stories. But something happened, what was it, about 6 years ago or something? You and your twin brother,
right?
Christmas tradition.
So I have a twin brother, right? So we had a tradition. It was a different mindset back then. 6 years ago, we were younger, right? I think I was like, I'm trying to. I think I was like 22.
Okay.
Yeah. So we had this tradition of buying socks, and we did some research, and we found out that uh, uh, a lot of the homeless people, they got a lot of food, they got blankets and all that, but they were missing socks. That's something that they needed a lot. So
Yeah.
we were handing out socks every Christmas, Christmas Day, and that led to me recording. As the years progressed, I saw the homeless population pretty much explode to what
Wow.
it is today.
So yeah, so socks. I mean, I wouldn't think about that initially, but that's amazing. Um, so one of the one of the questions is, were you I guess what did you see 6 years ago when you started to do this? Were you fearful at all? Because I hear people say that they'll initially who haven't interviewed people who are homeless, who haven't interacted with people who are homeless, are like, I'm very afraid because I might get beat up or something like that. And I think there's these misperceptions that are out there. So what did you experience? What did people say to you as you're giving things to them? What kind of discussions did you have? I mean, if you sat down for 5 minutes with somebody, what did they want to talk about?
So yeah, at the beginning, when we were giving out socks, we didn't really have any conversations with the homeless. It was just pretty much like, hey, here you go, here's something for you for Christmas. But as the years went by, a lot of these people, a lot of the conversations started off where it's just like, oh, I started off with like marijuana,
Okay.
and there wasn't any fear though. There wasn't any fear at the beginning, or a few years ago. There wasn't that much fear, but like right now, I wouldn't go up to a homeless. It's a rare occasion when I do that. I usually just like snap a photo or a video, and I
Yeah.
just keep going because I think I have clips. I haven't published them online, but where some guy pulled out a gun on me one time,
Oh, wow.
and people have pulled out knives on me, and sometimes like if you start pulling out your phone, your camera, your camcorder, your phone, they start cursing at you like, oh, take that camera away. They don't want people to document the homeless. They don't want people documenting what's going on. They don't like it.
So when you were out one, um, you know, initially, 5, 6 years ago, handing things out, um, socks and interacting, what was striking you as different than what you had heard from the media, seen on TV, stuff like that? When you actually got out there, what was something or some things you're like, this is different than what Channel 7 says about homeless, or this is very similar to what they say? I mean, were the narratives matching up of how the media was talking about this to when you were actually there, in that environment, talking with people, walking around? I guess, what did you observe that either was similar to what the news was saying or like completely different? And did you think maybe the news was spinning something in a certain direction?
Yeah. So the news, they I guess they try to shame people. So like the local news, they would pretty much say, oh, we have a homeless crisis. They making it seem like we need more money, to help them out. And from what I see from the streets, they're not helping them out. Is these people are creating they're doing self-destructive behaviors to the point where they're dying on the streets. Does that make sense?
Yes.
The media doesn't report about that. They
Right.
don't. I think last year, I think it was over 300 people that died, homeless people, on overdose, just on overdose.
Wow.
So, but they don't report on that. And the media, when they say homeless, when for whatever reason the homeless, let's say they talk about the homeless, it has nothing to do with the amount of feces on the floor or needles, knives, guns that they find on the street.
Right.
So yeah, it's too total. It's like the media, they live in a different world, you know. That's what it feels like.
Wow. So you were talking before of sometimes being out in San Francisco with your children, and then what your children are seeing. So we just talked about how the media is portraying some things. You talked about that, things that you're seeing, but how about what are kids seeing when they're out on their own, or with their parents in San Francisco, and then how do you explain to them this is why somebody might be on a bench, or this is why there's feces on the sidewalk or whatever. I'm trying to put myself in the mind of kids in San Francisco, how they write this, because part of the question would be, well, why isn't somebody doing something about this, or why isn't somebody helping them, or how did they get to this point, or what can I do about it? But these seem like really difficult things for a kid to process. I mean, I grew up in a small town in Wisconsin. I didn't have any experiences similar to this. If I was suddenly out, with my parents, and we're going, through San Francisco now, and I'm 10 years old, I'd be like, I can't make sense of this. I don't understand this.
It's really sad, Doc, because to my kids it's normal now. You know, they're just,
Okay.
they look and they say, hey, look, there goes a crackhead. That's or look, there goes a homeless person. You know, it's sad. You know, I feel bad as a father, because they shouldn't see none of this, right? They shouldn't have to be able to if we're walking down the street, we shouldn't have to be looking if we're gonna step on feces, or if there's gonna be a needle. Does that make sense? So
It does.
at least my kids, they're already, you say, used to it. But I try to take my kids out of the environment, so I'll go down to like San Mateo. San Mateo is only like 10 minutes away from the city, and it's a totally different world. If you
Right.
or even if you go to South City, which is from where I live, it's only like a 5-minute drive. They don't have a homeless they don't have the homeless problem. They don't have needles on the floor. It's really odd. So that's what I do. Just stay away from San Francisco as much as I can, and just come back whenever I have to. But I live in San Francisco.
So as a resident of San Francisco, what do you see for, policies and politicians and, taxes and programs in the last, 5-10 years? Because some of the research I did, just, more money is being spent to, quote unquote, solve the homeless problem, but it doesn't seem to, as you indicate, have an impact on homelessness. If anything, things are getting worse.
They are getting worse. It's I think last time I checked, they were spending almost $500 million on homelessness, and there was a proposal to add another $350 million on top
Wow.
of that. So I'm not a big fan of the mayor, London Breed, but I was in favor that she was like, you know what, we're not going to spend more money in this, because whatever we're doing, it's not working.
Okay.
So that was actually a good thing. But they if you there's actually a Twitter page on, if you type in SFPD, San Francisco Police Department,
Okay.
Tenderloin, you can see how bad the laws are out here, where like a drug dealer will get arrested today,
Yes.
and they'll release him a few hours later, and then he'll get arrested the day after or 2 days after. And that's something that's a big problem too, where someone gets caught with a firearm, that they get caught with drugs, selling drugs, and they have the catch and release, where it's like, go back into the streets.
Right.
And
Oh, wow.
they're also a lot of homeless people out here commit crimes, where it's if it's under 950
That's right.
they pretty much they'll just give you a citation. So it's almost, you know, I look from what I look at, it's almost more profitable to commit crime. You know, if
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go to jail.
I had heard that, you know, even like, you know, breaking car windows and getting something that might be of value. Right. If you have that threshold, there's really nothing that's done. I remember California, maybe 20, 25 years ago, had a policy called, I think it was a no broken windows policy. And basically it was if a building had broken windows, like an abandoned building, the owner had to, you know, replace the windows. And the thought was, if you had the appearance of places being kept up, you had less likelihood of crime happening. There was something similar in New York, you know, back 25, 30 years ago, where the subways, they would scrub the graffiti off the trains and stuff like that. But hey, Juan, before I go on, Cameron Sanchez in the chat asked a question. He wanted to know what part of San Francisco you live in, what part you're talking about.
Well, I'm talking about the whole city in general. You know, there's certain parts of the city where you don't really see this, which is I'll give you like Noe Valley. You know, that's
Okay.
a scale neighborhood, or Pacific Heights, or even the Castro. You don't these are neighborhoods that are, you know, pretty well off neighborhoods. But other than that, you know, but you know, a lot of multimillionaires live in those neighborhoods, so you don't really. Sometimes they'll go up there, you know, the homeless. But like for me, I'm either in Hunters Point or the Mission District.
Okay, so like the Mission District would be a district where you'd see quite a few homeless people.
Oh yeah, definitely Hunters Point, or even the Tenderloin. The Tenderloin, I think it's the worst out of all the neighborhoods.
Okay, I'm just checking over here on a map that I might share in a little bit. Okay, wow. Hey, it's our good friend Bull Rush. We have Bull Rush, Red Crusader, Cameron, the Bit, Sass Too Many. So thanks, guys, for showing up in the chat. Very much appreciate it. So, wow. I guess another question I have is you know, what about if people, you know, want to come out and see you and things like that? I mean, is this something where you're like, yeah, nah, let's not let's not do it? Or are people like saying they don't want to come to San Francisco, they don't want to come up and visit you because of what's happening in the city, or not?
Not really. Well, it depends, you know. Like, you know, like my grandma, she visited us. She flew in from Mexico last year, right? You know, even though Mexico being a third world country, when she got here, she was like a surprise. She couldn't believe the amount of homeless people and open drug use, because you don't see this out there. You
Okay.
know, there's a lot of crime, you know, like the cartels and all of that, but they don't see people just, you know, out of their mind walking around naked down the streets, you know, on drugs.
Yeah, tell me about that. Tell me some instances where you've seen some stuff like that, and you're just like, oh my god, I can't get over it. Yeah, give me a couple examples of that, and maybe how has it happened, like in the last month or 2 months, or
Not I haven't seen anyone like naked, but outside of my house, I think I have a clip on Instagram. There was this lady just in the middle of an intersection. Just she was I think she was high on crack.
okay,
And she was just in the middle of the intersection, just, you know, screaming and dancing around. And the problem with that is that a lot of people don't follow stop signs out here too.
oh right,
So that's it's like my brother and we have a joke. Stop signs out here are suggestions. That's what we say. So
the ones with the white lines are on the outside; those are optional. Yeah,
yes,
wow.
so people don't really follow stop signs out like that either in the neighborhood where I'm at, but a lot of neighborhoods too. So I was just, you know, I was right there recording, and I was just waiting. I was like, oh my god, this lady's gonna get hit by a car.
That's
But
great.
you know, she didn't get hit by a car, which was, you know,
Did anybody go out and do anything, try to stop her, or
it's like I said before, it's people that are around here it's just become normal. Like, oh, this is just some crazy lady. Just let her be. That's how it's become.
So really, what you're saying is, when you were younger, I mean, there were homeless people, but it was there. You wouldn't expect that they're probably going to attack you, that they're going to run out in traffic and do things like you're
Right.
seeing now, or that they're zombies because of drug overdose. And what you're sharing, one, is interesting because John Steele was on the show. John Steele out of Seattle. John was talking about he was driving through Seattle, maybe a year ago, and some guy in a part that had some homeless camps had jumped out in the road, and I think was either hitting his vehicle like with his fist or hitting other vehicles near him, and John had to take off. And John had lived there, pretty much his entire life too, and was saying this is behavior he hadn't seen before. I mean, you had homeless people in Seattle, but not homeless people who were coming into intersections, taunting vehicles, hitting vehicles, things like that. And I guess I don't want to also give the impression that, homeless people are violent and all
right.
And that, but to say that, I think it's getting to this threshold of as you indicated, people, the access to drugs, policies which having, gone well. If anything, it's probably brought more access to needles and things like that into an already really troubled situation. Wow. Yeah, I'm so, Juan, give us a couple stories. You interviewed somebody. Well, you recently posted it. It was a young lady. Can you tell me about, I guess, where you saw her, why you decided to interview her? She was cooperative with you in the interview. Is maybe what you posted was maybe like 3 to 5 minutes long. Tell me about that, and then also how typical it is to have people like that you encounter during your days.
It's not that typical. It's actually very hard to get someone to talk back to you. And I figured this happened in the Tenderloin district.
Okay.
So I was inside the store and I saw her kind of like acting weird. She bought a popsicle and she just went outside, right?
Okay.
Outside the store, and I just followed her and I just pulled out my phone and I started recording her. I took a picture of her first, and then I started recording her, and that's when I was asking her all those questions, But it's not something I do just because out of my safety. There's a lot of robberies that go on
right
in that neighborhood. So, but that's one of the. That was a really sad story. She looked like she was even younger than me. Which is pretty sad. And I'm only 28. So
okay. Yeah, she looked young, and yeah, I mean, it was so how did you I guess start the dialogue? Did you say, is it okay if I record you, or is it okay if I share this on social media? What do you want people to know? Did she have things that she wanted people to know?
No, she just I just started recording. That's what I usually do, but maybe I should ask people, but it's sometimes I just start recording just to see if I catch anything. But she didn't want to be recorded. She told me to put my phone away, and I don't know if you heard it, but on the mini interview, she didn't even know what year it was.
Right. Yeah. She said, what year is it? Because
Yeah.
You asked her something like, what day is it, or what month, or something. And then she's just paused. She's like, well, what year is it? Yeah.
Yeah. She didn't know it was 2020. She thought I was lying too.
Yeah. That is, oh my God. So, do you feel, I guess, what contributes to this? I mean, why is it getting worse?
The government, I think they are. So we get San Francisco. A lot of the homeless aren't from San Francisco. They come from other states. Something that I've been noticing is that it's a lot of young people. And I have a feeling that it's they come here to live the California dream.
Right.
And whether they're going to college, and I have a couple friends that went to college, and they were telling me that there's like heavy drug use in college. The fentanyl is a big thing that's going on out
Right.
here. So that and then with the policies themselves, just a few weeks ago, San Francisco started giving away booze, cigarettes, and
I I heard about that during the lockdown.
yeah, and it's
Right.
like
This was
that's like
amazing.
and during this time, there's been actually a like a death boom, from the homeless population
Right.
of overdoses. Nothing to do with COVID, but just on overdoses. So it's just the more it seems like the more the government gets involved, the worse the situation becomes.
Over in the chat room, John Steele made a comment, and he said it's not a homeless problem; it's a drug problem. And I think you just hit on
Yeah,
that too. And fentanyl, of course, being magnitudes, more severe than heroin, than meth. So a little bit of fentanyl, can kill. So you're talking about the policies, the practices, what you see. So I guess is there anything that's working? Is there anything out there that you've seen? Any groups, any policies, anything at all that you're like, hey, like that worked right there. I'd like to see more of this. Like this thing, this practice, this policy, whatever. If someone came to you and said, Juan, you lived here, um, you're a San Francisco, resident for many years. You've interacted with people, homeless people. What do you think we should do? I mean, so how might you answer that and just put a few things out there and say, well, here are some things that I've observed that seem to work from face validity, not from out here in some high rise building down in City Hall where people have never actually interacted unless they're inside a vehicle just taking a tour of some place, the tenderloin saying, oh, here it is. What do you think? Where do you think the hope is? Because I guess there needs to be hope.
I don't see any policies or anything that they're doing that's actually been working. They, if anything, they double down on what's not working. It's like I'll go back to it. They decided to give the homeless people booze. It's booze, drugs, and cigarettes. It's why I was talking about this with my brother. One of the person that's in charge of one of the nonprofits, this guy was saying, oh, I've been trying to solve this problem for over 30 years, and I was telling my brother, if this guy was in charge of of a company or a corporation,
right,
you've been burning through millions of dollars, you would have been fired, the first year. I don't think you would have lasted a year if this is the issue, so I think that's a lot of that's another problem. A lot of these people that run these nonprofits, they make over six figures.
Yes.
I've seen up to like 250,000. So
yeah.
There's no incentive for them to solve the issue if they're making $250,000.
Right.
So
yeah. I mean, that's a great point.
And
yeah.
I honestly think, I could be wrong, but I honestly think these people are evil, just by, you see what's going on the streets, and or maybe they don't, but how are you comfortable making $250,000 and see all these problems? There's like the public transportation is kind of it's kind of like the subway is called BART out here.
Yes. Yep.
People have sat down and they've poked themselves, just because people leave needles in between the seats, you know. So that's
Yeah.
that's a big
Wow.
issue right there. So I don't see anything that's been working, you know. To be quite honest, nothing has worked. It just keeps getting worse. The problem just keeps getting worse.
So I'm trying to think, what would be a way to, to make has anyone said to you, I guess, has anyone you've talked to, anyone who's homeless, or anyone who was homeless or lives, in your, in your community, kind of close to you, have they said, here's what I think would work. Here's what I'd like. Access to showers. Maybe if we had access to if we had access to, I don't know. I'm trying to spitball this, but I heard that, a couple of weeks ago too, giving alcohol, giving drugs to people during a time of coronavirus. I'm like, it doesn't seem to be the answer to me. That just seems to pacify people and knowingly lead them further into addiction and just in a bad place to try to make it easier, I guess, for who's in charge from a political standpoint during a lockdown, that you're not going to have, maybe more violence from, people who can't get drugs or alcohol or suffering from withdrawal. I don't know, but it's absolutely insane. But yeah, I'm trying to bring us around to a side of saying, if we had three things we could just kind of try, or even two things, what might that be? Is it a housing issue? Is it, that we need some things for people to do? Is it we need to have more innate needs met, getting more clothing, more things out to people? Or is it like, if we had to, I guess, I don't know. I guess one where I'm coming at this is, it can't really be a non-negotiable saying we can't fix it, because if we can't fix it, then the whole city just kind of implodes and everything is ruined for everybody. Homeless people who aren't homeless, everything just kind of falls apart. Businesses leave, medical facilities shut down, and everything erodes for everybody. So, yeah, what do you like that young lady you interviewed? So I'm watching that interview, that clip, and I'm trying to figure what gets her back on track. What helps her out so she's not outside of this. Where did you interview her? Like at a store or something? Because she was right outside the door.
Yeah, outside of a store. So it's the issue is there's no simple solution. There's too many variables, and not every single one. It's not like you can just come up with a formula to solve the issue, right? So it comes down to an individual level, right? So it's I'm not sure. I think something that could work is stop the government spending on this issue. Just because the more to me, it seems like the more money they put into it, the more the problem seems to grow. And I'll give you a perfect example. I
Yeah.
interviewed other homeless guy. He's probably in his mid-50s, and he was a software engineer. He used to be a software engineer, and he was out of Jersey. He became homeless out of through a divorce. He had a bad divorce and lost his house. Lost everything. But what he told me is that there's not enough resources out there. But then when I see what the county spends on homeless people, they spend about, like, I think it's like $30,000. If you do the math per homeless person.
Okay.
Is this guy was telling me we don't have clothes, we don't have access to food, but at the same time it's like, where is all this money going towards? So. But at the same time, I see resources being depleted to all the homeless people, which also makes them dependent on the city. Does that make sense?
Oh, right. Right.
So they get like a free bus pass, they get free they get welfare, they get EBT, they get hard cash, they give them cash. They get cash. Some of them, a lot of. Now that you said earlier about the statistics, a lot of people that live under government housing out here too, they're considered homeless too.
Right.
So
Yeah, and that gives that big discrepancy in the numbers. Like when I talked about San Francisco, when I was researching yesterday, numbers from 8,000 to 17,000 are basically double. So yeah, obviously I didn't know that they were giving cash. So what are if you're homeless in San Francisco, I guess what are things that homeless have access through to because of these government programs?
they actually have portable showers. They do have portable showers. A lot of these homeless people, there's a lot of resources. I've talked to several of them, and they're pretty much in the stance like, I don't care. I don't want the resources. They choose to live like that. A lot of them, they choose to live that lifestyle.
So you say turn out they deny the resources, so they'll say, I don't want to take, I don't want the shower, I don't want this, I'm fine.
They just if the resource leads to them having access to drugs, then they'll take it. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
From what I see, so like with hard cash, or I've seen I don't want to put any stores out there where let's say you walk in with your EBT card, right? Let's say it has like $100. The store owner would swipe the card, register let's say the full $100, and then he'll give the person $50. It's like, I'll give you $50 for your $100. So a lot of that stuff goes on too,
Really,
which is highly illegal. So it's I don't say anything, just because I don't want to put myself into a situation, because a lot of these people are interconnected with each other. It could jeopardize my safety too.
Because I had heard something with the stimulus checks. So, for example, in California, people are going to homeless and saying, "Listen, I'll give you like $100 or $200 today, and then when your check comes in, I get the check. So I'll get the $1,200 check, and I'll give you 200 today," and things like that were happening. And wow.
I haven't heard that, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's, I've even had people come up to me and they say, "Oh, I have a EBT card, which is food stamps.
Yes,
I have $250. Let's go to the store. You could buy everything. You could just max the card out and just give me $50." Wow. So I personally don't do it, just because I don't think it's ethical.
Yeah. So people ask you that. Has anyone come up to you and said, "Hey, I've got this card, 250. We can go and get food, everything you want. I want 50 cash."
Yeah, I've had, I get a lot of those people come up to me and say that to me.
Wow.
It's not something that's it's, and they do it overtly too. It's like they don't mind if someone's listening to them. They don't care.
Right.
So yeah, it's crazy.
That sounds, oh man. Well, Juan, I found the clip that you posted on May 24th of the young lady outside of the store, and I'm going to bring it up on the screen, and I think you'd be able to see it too. I'm going to do it on a share screen. Just a second here, and okay. Are you able to see that?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us what is happening, and any other interactions, what she's showing you, what she's doing?
Yeah. So right there, she had just walked out of the store, and she was talking to herself, and I just started recording. I don't know if you could play the audio, so people can listen to it.
Yeah, here at the Safety Doc podcast, that is something we are working on here a little bit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's you know, I pretty much asked her what was her drug of choice. I think I could hear it.
What do you use? What do you use? What do you like to use?
Oh, Cameron says that there's no audio on the video.
Oh, okay. Hang in there, Cameron.
I can hear it.
Well, what's your favorite? Crack? Heroin?
I don't even know how to make sure this drink. It tastes really good. It gets stuck in the little, the cartridge straight. It has a quip, and it like it melts in the quip. And you can continue like lining up the quip, and crack is tasty. Oh, whatever, bye.
What?
And there's enough that meth is a resource.
Yeah, she's not even kind of making sense. She's
Yeah.
it's really jittery.
You gonna smoke some crack right now or what? You don't have any? What do you have on you right now?
So yeah, got about a minute left on this video. I guess not. No, got it right there. Okay, good. Hey, I'm getting this audio thing figured out a little bit with that little external mic here, so we can get some of those clips. But yeah, so she had no idea what day it was, what year it was. She's really jittery, and yeah, I mean that's just wow. That is just something. So what kind of questions, if she wanted to keep talking with you, okay, because she was, definitely, kind of was like, hey, don't film me and all this stuff. But if she wanted to keep talking with you, people who want to talk to you, what do they tell you? I mean, because I'm sure you run across people who they have like a lot of stuff they want to just have someone listen to because no one is there to listen to their story or listen to them. So tell me about when that happens. What do people tell you?
They go on a lot on their life. I had what I get, a lot of people, they're, quote unquote educated, a lot, especially the younger ones, they're educated. They came from college, they just made bad choices in life, single parent homes, I get that a lot where they just grew up with the mother, the father wasn't in the picture. So you get a lot of that, some of them, they just want to tell their story. Some of them, they just don't want the camera around them, period,
Okay.
So yeah, I to this day I haven't been attacked, but that's something that I also, worry about, getting attacked, just because you never know. A lot of these people have diseases, where
Yeah, like typhoid is something now, like in Los Angeles and in other parts of California that's come back. And who would have thought of typhoid, in the United States? But yeah.
Yeah. So I like right there, I probably had like a 10 feet distance. I just zoomed in, but just because, a lot, especially a lot of the homeless, they tend to spit when they talk.
Right.
So
Juan, you took that video recently, still under the coronavirus lockdown orders and all of this stuff. How do you see that affecting homeless? As far as like, do you see any attempts to, these things, distribute masks, to get homeless people into motel rooms, more hand washing, or is this because we hear about this on the news, right? I hear about this in Wisconsin. San Francisco is putting up more hand washing stations and is, doing this to prevent the spread of coronavirus amongst its homeless population. But really, what's happening? Is any of that happening?
The hand washing stations, yeah, but it doesn't help. You don't really see anyone use them. You know, they actually connected next to it's connected directly through a fire hydrant.
Yeah.
So people can just walk up and wash their hands. But the hotels, you know, if I've heard about that, I haven't seen it. But what I have seen is you know, there's a local park by my house, and I'll see if I could upload it right now on Twitter so you can see the picture.
Okay.
They took a park and they just filled it up with like 45 tents, something like that.
So not social distancing at all, probably, but concentrating people. Okay.
Well, they're fairly distanced, but you know, they're trying to gather all the homeless, so they're not just on the streets, you know, just interacting with each other. But at the end of the day, the homeless, you know, if they're gonna go do, let's say, heroin, you know, they end up sharing a needle. So it doesn't matter what the county they, you know, even if they put these social distancing requirements and they provide all the resources for the homeless, they don't listen, you know.
Right. And do you think part of it too is they don't want to leave their possessions behind also, or even like an area that they've kind of claimed, like if I leave here, it's going to be hard to get back my territory or my things, or is that not really an issue?
Yes, that has, you know, they don't want to leave their things behind. They don't want to leave their area. They're just comfortable where they're at, you know.
Right.
You know, they don't they don't have any responsibilities, so it's like why would I go to an encampment where they're going to make us follow these rules where we have to check in at a certain time, you know. Same thing with the homeless shelters, you know. A lot of the homeless shelters, you know, they just don't go just because they got to follow the certain rules. You can't bring a certain amount. You can only bring a certain amount of things. You can't bring drugs in, you know.
Right. Yeah. So in those instances, I mean, why do it if you're going to, have a risk of some things, your possessions, you're going to lose. Wow. That is so Juan, tell me, I guess, how has this impacted you personally? So from a standpoint of either like faith in humanity or like, you know, someone who's lived in San Francisco of like, this is what's happening now. I feel like I'm losing my town, my city. I'm losing my identity. I guess, I mean, are there, I would assume there's really dark struggles kind of for you because taking, you know, pictures, the video, living there of what you're seeing, what you're surrounded by. It's got to be hard to watch that, recalibrate it. Also think I'm a father, my kids are growing up. Here's where they're growing up. And just overall things are kind of exacerbating in you know, the country. And how do you, when it comes to the end of the day, how do you work all that through your mind?
You know, I've made plans, you know, because it's you can only like I upload the pictures, you know, and the videos on Instagram, you know, on the multiple pictures on Instagram. I'm more active on Instagram, and I've came to the conclusion that you know, this isn't going to change anytime soon, you know. And I've been trying to make plans to leave California, but due to having kids, you know, I'm a full-time single father, you know. I have like full custody of my kids, but like my kids have visitation rights, so I can't technically just pick up and leave. But that's something I'm sorting out myself because I don't think it's healthy for my kids to see this and to think it's normal, you know.
That was a question Red Crusader had in the chat. He was asking if you plan on leaving San Francisco, if this had run through your mind or California. And if so, I guess, where would you want to go to? What would be your destination?
You know, I was looking at Texas, South Dakota, Tennessee. I got to do a little bit more research. You know, I got to go check out the area, see if I like it. You know, I like warm weather, so
yeah,
it has to be warm. You know, I could probably tolerate snow, you know, a few months, but That's
Right.
what I think, but from people that I know, they're like, you probably not gonna like the snow.
No, no, I grew up in Wisconsin. I still live in Wisconsin. I do not like the snow, and it's very long here. It's crazy. Um, but yeah, as other people have indicated, Red Crusader is one of them in the chat, and I've heard more people who live in bigger cities saying they're getting out of the cities. And in San Francisco, obviously, homeless contributes to that. Now, we talk about coronavirus hitting the cities. What has that meant in California for like transit? Has some of that been shut down because of coronavirus? So public transportation, that's a big thing. You live in a city, okay, give up your car, give up whatever, because it will have public transit, and then all of a sudden, coronavirus hits, public transit gets shut down or scaled back. Have you seen that?
Well, public transit got scaled back, not because of the coronavirus, just because a lot of people started losing their jobs, so the demand wasn't there.
Okay.
For public transportation. Personally, I haven't took public transportation in years, just because how undesirable people go into public transportation, where it's there's fights and drug. You see drug use in public transportation too. Like on the train, it's called BART. There's I've seen videos of other people that they posted online where someone's on the bus, just smoking crack in front of on a bus that's
Wow.
fully packed. So it's kind of, and the fuel out here, like gasoline, it's pretty expensive, but it's a trade-off, that I'm willing to take, so my kids don't get exposed to that. But public transportation, it's like it went down by like 90% for BART, and like for the bus, I'm not really sure, but they scaled down too, just because there wasn't that many people using public transportation.
Wow. So, Juan, is there a story that sticks to your mind from somebody that you interacted with, either when you're giving out clothing, giving out socks, or just somebody you interviewed, someone who like just had this story or this presence that to this day you're like, I remember that person, this is what they said, I remember their story, I remember whatever. Or did you have that experience? Is there somebody you can share some experience that kind of changed you, or like you after you had it, you're like, wow, like this reframes how I think of everything?
Right. So Christmas, from last year, 2019, the one that just passed, I was with my buddy, we were talking, and we're like, he convinced me to go give out socks for that year, right? I was hesitant about it just because how dangerous it's become. So we were giving out socks, on Christmas Day, and there's this like little tent. It looked like a kid's tent, right?
Okay.
So we go up to the tent, you say like, hello, like is anybody there where we want to give you guys a Christmas present? So the tent starts shaking around, and here comes this like 6'7" guy. He was tall. I'm 5'10",
Wow.
He's a homeless guy, but you can tell he's on drugs. He's all jacked, he pretty much looked like he just came out of prison.
Okay.
And he's like ready to beat us up, like he thought we were messing with him, right? And my friend's with his camera, and he just looks at us, and he, I wasn't scared, but I was like, oh, it caught me off guard, because I really thought this guy was gonna start beating us up. All I had on me was like a little pocket knife. We weren't really protected, but that was one of the cases where we really felt uncomfortable. We're going up to like strangers. But yeah, this guy was really, really tall.
Holy, just out of the small tent.
Like my buddy and I, we were laughing about it, because it's like it was this tiny tent, and he comes out this guy that's like 6'7". I was like, wow, like how did he even fit in there?
Oh my God. Wow. It was about 20 years ago. So my wife and I went out to San Francisco, and my brother-in-law and his family live outside of San Mateo, so real close by. And I remember we were out for the night in San Francisco, and I'm from Wisconsin, again, smaller town Wisconsin, and this is 20 years ago. My brother-in-law, we got done eating somewhere, and then he said, if you're not going to eat the rest of your food, we can have it put into boxes. And then he took it and he was giving it out to like homeless people as we were kind of walking back to, it was actually the BART at that point. We did take the BART, although there was a fight on the BART. I'll never forget either. That was kind of pretty wild, because like, whoa, someone was trying to bring a dog on the BART and someone had gotten a fight with them. But yeah, at that time, I remember him saying, it was more of a feeling of compassion toward homeless, and there wasn't a thought that you're going to get beat up or anything like that, because maybe the drug use wasn't as rampant as it is today. But I remember very distinctly, like going through Chinatown, things like that, and not feeling aware, but not feeling like in danger. And but he said, his observation is the same thing. It's become very dangerous any time of day. Like it could be noon and you could be driving and you pull up to a stoplight and suddenly, somebody comes out. And it's not that they're after you. It's just that they are just in such a state of chaos, in their own mind from drugs. And wow. So you talk about this guy. So anything else, like when someone's telling you like a story, is there any story that someone's shared? Like, I came here from another state because this was my dream, or, I'm going to get out of here, or anything like that, or anything like is just kind of this memorable or heart-wrenching story that you've heard, or because I guess it sounds like people really aren't confiding as much. I mean, is there anyone who you felt has built up a trust with you in a conversation where they wanted to share a little bit more? Or
there's there's so many homeless people, so I don't really remember who they are, but there was this one story, I was at this gym, right? And I didn't know the guy was homeless, right? He looked at like a normal guy.
Okay.
And he was some sort of an engineer, right? So I really felt bad for this guy, because he had gone through a divorce. This was at a Planet Fitness. I don't know if you're aware what Planet Fitness is. Like a $10 a month kind of
Sure.
deal.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, this guy was living off his car. He had become addicted to drugs. I think he was addicted to meth. Yeah, it was meth. And he went through a divorce. He lost his house. He had a mansion, kind of like I think he had a mansion out by like Half Moon Bay. I don't know if you know where that's at. It's like towards San Mateo.
Okay.
And this guy was just, totally destroyed, hooked on meth, and he was trying to get his life back together, going to the gym, but he's like, you know what, man, to be quite honest, I'm probably gonna go do some drugs right now when I get out of the locker room.
Right.
And that was really sad for me right there. I was like,
yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
So where does the money come from for drugs? Is it people who take the EBT cards and then, are having someone buy $150 worth of groceries for themselves and then giving $50 back? I mean, because I would think it would be pretty expensive to acquire drugs, or is it prostitution, or is it theft? But then who's buying stolen items? Wouldn't that market be driven down where people are like, I'm only going to give you whatever for?
So it's a combination of all those. So there's the black market out here is really huge. So, there's a lot of robberies that go on, like phone thefts, computer thefts. So let's say It's like right now I have like an iPhone, right?
Okay.
If let's say if I was to sell my iPhone on the market, right? Let's say it's worth like $400, right? If a drug user, you know, decides to rob me, they'll probably get like $50 to $100 for the phone. And what they do, there's actually these groups of people where they dedicate to buying stolen goods. And you know, they busted someone a few months ago where they had probably like $5 million worth of stolen goods, from laptops to
Holy smokes.
computer, phones, gold, uh, fabric softener, detergent. It's a big market. So that's how they get their money.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, Chase, that guy that that's the new DA, Chase Abudin. He's pretty much decriminalizing a lot of the stuff. So he's actually made stuff worse.
Right. So this is something too. I mean, so the police are getting basically a stand down order. They're
Right.
saying, you know, don't, you know, you're not going to public urination. You're not going to go over and find somebody or whatever. Wow. This is, crimes such as public. Okay. We will not prosecute cases involving quality of life. He said crimes such as public camping, offering or soliciting sex, public urination, blocking a sidewalk, etc., should not and will not be prosecuted. Wow. Yeah. So this is the guy, right?
His name is Chesabudin.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So yeah, I mean, if you don't have a policy, if you're not enforcing your policies, if you're relaxing your policy, I think it also puts law enforcement in a really difficult position. I mean, so somebody calls the police and says, hey, you know, there's somebody in front of, like that young lady, let's say that she's becoming aggressive with patrons who are coming in and out of that place, like for panhandling or something like that. And they're saying, you know, we need you to, and they're coming and saying, our hands are tied, you know, there's not much we can do. We can offer her whatever resources, but we're not going to physically put hands on her and move her or something like this. And wow. So this is where, you know, you've pointed out, it's really a policy failure that's come in, and just adding more money into this isn't solving things.
Well, the San Francisco Police Department was actually against this, the district attorney, because it's like, you have to understand from the police department's view, what's the point of me arresting someone, booking them, and they're just going to get released, and then when it's time to go to court, they're not going to get prosecuted. So that's another big issue. So it's you know, I don't know. It's I can't even explain it myself. What do these people think? You know,
right?
By not criminalizing, you know, anyone, and there's no consequences for this type of behavior. You know, so if anything, you know, they're going to be incentivized to keep doing it.
And I was reading something too about, you know, vehicles. To smash into a vehicle and take something there's, as you indicated, there's virtually no consequence, because if it's roughly under $1,000, and I think there's a different threshold of, you know, $700 or $800, but roughly under $1,000, it's there won't be a ticket, there won't be persecution of that. So I don't even know, you know, if you own a vehicle, how, unless you have your vehicle stored away in a garage or something, I mean, it's basically open to anybody who just wants to check if you've got anything in there, just take out a window. Or I would assume like that reporting's got to be crazy, of just lineups of vehicles that have been broken into, because, hey, if somebody's caught, and I think it's per instance too, is what I read. So like if there were like 10 vehicles and they broke into 10 and they were owned by 10 different people, each one is individually assessed as its own act. Like if you had 10 vehicles, then that would all be your property and it would accrue. But again, what point is it when someone doesn't have the capacity to pay these fines anyway, and they're going to be processed and back out on the street in a number of hours. Wow.
It's like I'm sitting in my SUV, right? A few weeks ago, they broke my window. I had to pay like I think it was $180 to get it replaced.
Right.
And there's no point of I have cameras, outside of my apartment, but there's no point of me reporting it. They like last time someone was breaking into my car, right? I called the police and they told me, well, that's not a how did they say? That's not an emergency. Just report it, file the complaint online. And I'm like, wow, So what's the point of all this? There's no point of me, like, if someone breaks into my window, if I see it happen, there's no point in me doing a police report. So there's a lot of things that go on that goes unreported, just because the police they can't do anything about it. And and if you take matters into your own hands, that's a whole different scenario that you might not want to get into.
Well, yeah, and I think you just brought up a great point, because people might look at this like, if you're a politician, you could spin some of this as saying, hey, whatever we've just put in place is effective because we have less reporting of break-ins and whatever. And the fact is, it's just people aren't reporting those anymore because they know nothing is going to happen. There aren't going to be consequences. So that's the thing of, you're bringing the face validity to this, saying, listen, people they're breaking into vehicles. Probably the best you can do if you have a house or something is just to make it as difficult as possible for someone to break in, or park your vehicle in an area that's more busy. So if there are 5 vehicles, yours is more difficult than 3 others. So it's likely the 3 others would be victimized versus yours. It's not a great plan, but it's kind of that thought of they're going to go to the person or the place that's less able to defend itself. If there's a car parked on a dark alley or something like that, it's probably going to get broken into, things stolen. So how about like what do you pay for car insurance? I mean, this has got to be crazy. Like if you say, here's my address, and they're like, oh my God, you're in San Francisco, here's your premium. I mean, is it going up through the roof? Because
I have liability. I don't fully insure my cars just because it's not worth it, and I actually have several cars. I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have like 6 cars. So
wow.
That's something that I do too. I buy and sell cars.
Okay.
So.
Like Aaron Clary has like 7 phones. I don't know why. He calls them burner phones. I haven't figured that out yet. He's going to tell me sometime. Burner phones. Okay. No, so you're buying and selling cars, keep liability only, but it sounds like you pretty much, that's a smart move unless you actually have a secured garage to put it in. Why in the world would you put other insurance on a vehicle that is at high probability for being damaged repeatedly, right?
Yeah, I actually don't I only insure the 2 cars that I drive daily, Other than that, the other vehicles, if they get broken into, it's it's I already, if I buy a vehicle that I'm gonna fix, right? I put in, I put it in my budget that the window might get smashed, so that's probably going to be another $150. So right. that goes into
my brother-in-law, one of his friends, did windshield repairs. He would put in a new windshield. So you get the new windshield for $120 total or something like that. It was half the price of it. You go to a Safe Light or something. And I used to drive on the interstate for my job, and I always was losing a windshield or 2 a year. And so I was going to this guy. I got to know him. I'm like, hey, can you set me up with a new windshield? He's like, yeah, bring it over to my garage. It's actually, I set you up, $120 cash. I get the window, we put it in. So he'd order it, and it's just there it is, windshield. Hey, how about firearm laws? Are you do you own a firearm in California?
I don't own a firearm. Just because I got into some trouble in the past.
Sure.
But I don't have a criminal record. But just by being, I was in the system once, and then they won't give me a firearm. But my brother, he's applied for a conceal and carry, and I think it's only 2 people in the whole city. I think it's like 800,000. That's the population where they don't even want to qualify him for a conceal and carry. So he was living with me, and the neighborhood's kind of rough. So he applied for a conceal and carry, which is you have to prove to them why is it that you need a conceal and carry.
Okay.
So
all right.
You pretty much have to prove to them why. And he was denied because there's a police station a few blocks away, even though there's a lot of crime happening. He moved into another neighborhood, which is a safer neighborhood, and they denied him because the neighborhood was too safe. So
that doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Right.
Oh my god.
So it's they have really strict gun laws out here.
Wow. I think that's your brother calling me right now. He's like, "Hey, I'm going to go live on the show." I'm like, "No, it's just campaign time. We've been getting so much stuff." So basically, it's a way of gun suppression, of Second Amendment right suppression, right? Because they're saying, here's conditions: you're too close to a precinct, or your neighborhood has so few crimes reported, right? Because you already talked about reporting what is authentic, what you observe. Wait, if you're going out and you're seeing broken glass, things like that, broken doors, but because what's being reported is low, you don't qualify. We're not giving it to you. So yeah, that's wow. And I was really surprised. What was it, about a month ago, when Canada had the Trudeau passed not passed the legislation, just said we're taking all of your I guess he classified it as assault weapons, and there was a long list that went into that, and that was just like, it just happened. And but yeah, so definitely, I mean, that was a question I brought up from the chat room also, was, what does Second Amendment look like in San Francisco? And I think what you shared with your brother's experiences is it's really, there's a lot of barriers to that. So I guess anything else that you want to share from your work, what you see as your future in San Francisco, and then also kind of tell us about what got you interested into petroleum engineering, and where you see yourself in, let's say, five years.
Well, right now I took a pause on that just because I have to figure out a way how to get out of the city.
Yes.
So that's like my main concern right now. I can take on, I can go to an online school, but I took a pause on that. But what was the other question? Sorry about that.
Yeah, I guess where do you see yourself in like five years?
In 5 years, I see myself out of the city,
Okay.
out of the state. Just to be quite honest, I can't take the taxes, the cancel culture. I get belittled on the street just because if I had a pro Second Amendment shirt on, and people were upset. They called me a fake Mexican. All these kind of things, and it's just because I have a different point of view. Does that make sense?
It does.
And they don't like that out here. Especially being a minority myself. So it's something I don't. Mainly for my kids. I don't want them to grow up around here. In the neighborhood where I grew up, I saw a lot of drugs. Personally, I've never done any drugs just because I knew a lot of people that just passed away throughout the years just on drug use. So
right.
Drugs have never interested me.
Wow.
Never took an
Yeah,
interest
it's
in drugs.
no, it makes sense. I mean that you'd want something different, for your kids. And yeah, as Mikibus wrote in the chat room, quoting our friend, Rob from robsays.net, let them burn. And I think it, as you've said, I mean, it's your locus of control, right? You have control over yourself, you have control over your kids, the environment that you're in. So you have to make the choices, and then you also have control over, obtaining the education, petroleum engineering, getting into, the field where you can, have access to different points to live, different career opportunities, all good stuff. So what I'm going to do, Juan, is I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for being on the show. I had wanted for, I wanted for a long time to have you on, because I really appreciate your work. And I mean, and you post, so on Twitter, you post so many, snapshots that you take that literally, it's like 1,000-word story behind these snapshots. It just is so telling, of what is really happening in California. And man, I appreciate you being on the show, sharing the stories, posting the short videos, things. Can you tell people where to find your work?
Yes, I'm actually on Instagram. It's LOU415 underscore. So that's my Instagram. And my Twitter, I don't know what's my Twitter handle. I just made a Twitter. It's Juan underscore Cabrera 415.
All right, I'm going to pull up your
Twitter.
Twitter.
I actually uploaded a picture right now. I think I tagged you on it for the park and the tents where I was telling you about, where it was like around 45 tents.
Okay, you put that on Twitter?
Yeah.
Okay. So, hey, that's somebody who knows you. They're like, hey, it's Juan. Jeez. I should have taken more typing classes here. Jeez. There we go, Juan. All right. I'm going to just share your information right here. So this is Twitter. It's over here in the chat for Juan. And then for images, so I see one of a man on Twitter, of a man who's passed out. And then there's tents, and then I also see a guy wearing a Chargers jersey. That's kind of like the most recent one, 6 hours ago. Did you post on Instagram? Or
no,
like,
on Twitter. I just posted
oh,
it
here it is.
20 minutes ago. So that's a pretty much like a government funded encampment.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Let me bring it up so you can. Okay. Here we go. So this is what you just posted. So can you tell us, what this is?
Yeah. So if you look to the left, right by the tree, I didn't get a picture of it, but they have a station where they provide food and water and all, a bunch of resources for the homeless people. But those are all brand new tents right there, and I counted about like 45 of them, and it's just for the homeless. And that's a local park. That park is probably like 3 blocks away from my house.
Oh, wow. So these were put up, and this was like a coronavirus response. They put these up too. Okay. Wow.
That was the coronavirus response.
Otherwise, this is just like a park right here, normally, right?
Yeah, that's actually a baseball field.
Okay.
And you can't see because of the tents are in the way. There's actually a playground there.
Wow.
Too. So they shut down the playground. Kids can't go play, but I guess the homeless can go to the park.
And here's another angle, right, of the same thing. Yeah. Wow. I mean, this is fascinating. Okay. let me. And how about this picture?
Oh, so right there, that's actually a woman. So it's the guy with the jersey, and the woman, she was actually getting a heroin needle ready. She was they heat up the heroin before they put it in the needle.
Okay.
They usually grab like a spoon and they heat up which usually looks like black tar.
Wow. And then this place, this normally just has all of this gating and stuff like this metal
Right.
gate around it so people can't break into it. And okay. And then I just this image you posted really stands out to me. Where was this at?
That one was actually in San Rafael. I don't know if you that wasn't in San Francisco, but that was outside of Berkshire Hathaway, one of their offices.
Yeah. So okay. So we go to Wall Street, wealth, and then we have somebody just passed out right in front. Oh my God. So yeah.
And that was actually outside of the Tesla dealership, the one before that one. Yeah.
Okay.
You can see the guy right there in the corner right there.
Right here. And then here's a Tesla inside. Wow. I would think like if you're a retailer, especially a mom and pop shop, it's got to be really hard to sell because people aren't going to come down to your store. I mean, what if they encounter someone who's aggressive with them or else just like having to walk through shit on the sidewalks or needles it must be really hard to keep these businesses going. Or someone breaks a window, like here they break something like that.
It's I saw this guy trying to go into his business. He had to wake up the homeless man, just because he was right in front of the door. Yeah. He had to wake him up like, hey, like I gotta go into my business. You gotta go somewhere else. It was like at 5:30 in the morning.
Jeez. And here's that image. Where did you take this one?
That one was in between the Tenderloin and I think it's called the Westfield Mall. No, it's between downtown and the Tenderloin. So
okay.
This is actually a brand new building, and
Wow.
it's been up for like 2 years, I think. And all of that's retail space, but the retail space, it's actually worse than what the picture looks.
Okay.
It's probably like 50 feet of just tents.
It looks like the windows, like whatever was retail is gone because this is just like papered over the windows. But then, so this gets back to that earlier part too, where you're talking, if government comes in and says, hey, we'll put you up in this tent and hand washing station and whatever, and there's these things and food. People are like, I'm not going to give up all of this and plus my spot here. I'm not going to do that. If I can take two things with me, I'm not. So this is another issue. But yeah, I mean, imagine if you had this as your retail place and, so you're selling whatever out of here, Persian carpets or whatever the hell it is, or someone trying to come down and get through this, get to the front. They're just not going to do it. So, I mean, this has just got to just kill retail. And the risk of having your place broken into and oh my God, this is just absolutely. This is the last one, Juan. I know you've got some time limits here too, and we'll wrap the show up. But this one really fascinated me because it looks like he's got like bleach here or something, or what's going on?
Yeah, he was just fiddling around. I think I'm not sure where he got that stuff, but he was going through it. I think he probably broke into a car and he just took everything and he was just going through it. But he wasn't really there either,
Yeah. I mean,
he was upset that I took a picture of him, so I pretty much had to drive away. I usually don't get out of my van just because it's kind of dangerous,
Right.
You don't have a knife or anything, but yeah.
Wow. Okay. So everybody, as we wrap it up here on the Safety Doc podcast, number 137 with our good friend and guest, Juan Cabrera from the state of California, the city of San Francisco. I want to thank Juan for being a guest on this show. This show is on the 405media.com out of Los Angeles, California. 137 episodes, all rendered in video, audio, and then a blog post at safetyphd.com. Again, we focus on face validity. Use the term I observed instead of I think, okay, or I heard. No, use I observed, just as you know, you can do from what Juan is sharing with us right now in the show, what he shared with us today. I observed. It's so powerful versus, you know, this whole thing of here's what the media told me and you know, this article that was generated. No, I observed what your senses tell you when you put yourself into the situation. It's been an honor for me, Juan, to have you on the show. You're a terrific guy. I wish you the best. I'm going to keep in contact with you to get updates. We'll bring you back on the show. Yeah, I got to check out my insurance policy. I probably shouldn't have any more than liability on my old Impala. I think I still have a collision on that. I think if it hit anything like a butterfly, it'd probably be totaled out. But all right. Well, my friend, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. And everybody check out this show at safetyphd.com. The blog post will be up in about 48 hours. Again, thank you so much, Juan.
Thank you, and thanks to Red and Sass and everyone else who tuned in.
Yeah, Red, Mickey, Sass, Bullrush, all those guys. Yeah, we appreciate the folks who follow and support here the Safety Doc podcast. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Doc.
Good. Well,